Sigrika, befriender of all undercover Fraxidus agents, is finally available as the only new unit in Wuthering Waves 3.2, accompanied by her army of Solaskins, insane investment ceiling, and a lot of echo damage. Her kit, however, does come with some restrictions that cause her to heavily rely on echo casters in her team, but she makes up for it by having some of the largest buffs to both herself and her teammates in the game. As an arrow echo skill damage focused unit with a ton of crowd control, she'll work best with units like Qiuyuan, Ciaccona, and with plenty of sustain options in the form of Shorekeeper, Arrow Rover, and Iuno. With that, welcome to our full scope comprehensive guide to Sigrika, the newest addition to Wuthering Waves, and I'm here to break down everything when it comes to how she works, what her best equipment will be, and the steps you need to take across her team building and rotations to make the most out of her insane damage potential. As always, if you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Sigrika, with her baseline kit, focuses on the buildup of runes to cast enhanced heavy attacks and generate her Forte circuit before delivering a massive burst of echo damage at the end of her rotation, so the runes is where we'll begin. Sigrika generates runes by first entering Decipher, a state granted through her basic attacks. Her default basic attack chain consists of 4 attacks. Her heavy attack can be followed up with the second stage of her basic, her mid-air attack causes her to plunge and can also be followed up with the second stage of her basic, and her dodge counter can be followed up with the 4th stage. Sigrika also has a unique mid-air dodge counter that can be followed up with the second stage of her basic attack chain. Her intro skill will also advance her to the second stage, and her baseline resonance skill, Boomy Boom, simply deals a small amount of arrow damage and advances her to the 3rd stage of her attack chain. Using Sigrika's 4th basic attack causes her to enter the Decipher state for 5 seconds, with the effect ending if she swapped off field. While in the Decipher state, using a normal attack causes her to use Elucidated, which deals echo skill damage, and using a dodge counter while in Decipher performs the same attack. On the other hand, using a resonance skill activates Big Boomy Boom, which deals echo skill damage. All of these attacks, when used, cause her to leave the Decipher state. Using her enhanced basic attack grants her a rune of Trust, while using an enhanced skill grants a rune of Answer. The generation of these runes is incredibly important because when Sigrika has 2, she gains access to her enhanced heavy attack, Schemata of Runes, that consumes 2 runes to use a unique attack based on the type of runes consumed. If she consumes 2 Trust runes, she casts Runic Chain Whip, which stagnates targets with echo skill damage. And if she consumes 2 Answer runes, she uses Runic Solaskin, which pulls in targets while dealing echo skill damage. And if she consumes 1 of each rune, she uses Runic Outburst, which simply deals a burst of echo skill damage. This is the most highly damaging attack out of the 3. Sigrika also generates 10 Solaskin Vitality whenever any unit on her team casts an echo skill with a cap of 60. Echoes of the same name can only trigger 1 stack. When Sigrika has over 30 Solaskin Vitality, she'll consume 30 to increase the damage multiplier of the enhanced heavy attack by 50%. If she has less than 30, she'll consume all points to grant 15% damage amp for every 10 points consumed. If 30 points are consumed with the attack, she'll also gain a stack of Innate Gift, which has a max limit of 2. Each stack grants her enhanced heavy attack and her special enhanced resonance skill, Learn My True Name, 30% damage amplification. However, to cast her Forte enhanced skill, you'll need to generate her Forte, full stop. This effect ends if she leaves the field. Full stop is gained by casting her enhanced heavy attack, 50% of it with each attack. Sigrika can only hold 2 runes until she gains at least half of her Forte, after which she unlocks 4 slots. When Sigrika has at least 50% of her Forte, her basic attacks begin from the second stage, and her Decipher enhanced resonance skill is also upgraded to Solaskin to the aid, while still generating an answer rune. Once full stop is completely filled, Sigrika can hold her resonance skill to cast Learn My True Name, a massive echo skill damage nuke that clears all innate gift stacks and has a 25-second cooldown. At first glance, Sigrika looks like she requires a massive amount of field time to generate all of her runes, but she has plenty of tools in her kit to speed up the process. The first is her inherent skill, True Names Invoked, which grants Convergent for 20 seconds when her intro skill is used. With this buff, she instead generates 2 copies of the next rune obtained, and when full stop is filled, the effect is deactivated. The second is her Resonance Liberation, which deals a burst of echo skill damage and grants Divergent for 20 seconds. This buff is the opposite of Convergent, instead granting a rune of the opposite type when one is obtained. This won't activate as well if full stop is filled. When Convergent and Divergent are both active, Convergent takes priority. With both of these buffs, Sigrika can easily generate enough runes to fully generate full stop within a 14-second rotation. When you factor in all of Sigrika's abilities, resources, and interactions with each other, she has a simple playstyle focused around performing basic attack chains to enter Decipher, generating a rune with either her skill or basic, and then using an enhanced heavy attack. Afterwards, she'll Liberation and then enter Decipher again before casting her second enhanced heavy attack and then her Forte enhanced resonance skill to nuke her enemies before outroing to another teammate, dealing another massive burst of damage and also providing 2 stacks of encounters encapsulated to her team for 30 seconds. This buff causes echo skills to stagnate the target and consume a stack. When it comes to Sigrika's second inherent skill, it operates very similarly to Soliskin Vitality. Whenever any unit on her team uses an echo skill, she gains a stack of Blessing of Runes, with 6 total stacks and the same echo name limit. Each stack grants the active unit 3% arrow damage and 3% echo skill damage, and at max stacks, Sigrika gains an additional 30% bonus to each damage type. Sigrika also gains 2% echo skill damage for every 1% ER above 125%, for a max of 50% damage at 150% energy recharge. That's a massive number of damage buffs, but this 150% ER can be very hard to achieve unless you're running an ER 3 cost echo. When it comes to Tomb Break abilities, Sigrika has no real interactions with the system other than advancing her attack chain to the 3rd stage after casting a Tomb Break. Overall, Sigrika is a unit that has a unique blend of team buffs, self buffs, crowd control, and sustained damage that heavily benefits from having echo skill casters like Qiuyuan on her team, and unfortunately does not have any real free-to-play options to reach her maximum buff potential in her kit without them. She still has some minor concessions in her kit that allow her to reach a percentage of her true potential, but she'll feel very lacking without the massive 60% damage buff from her inherent skill or the insane multiplier increase from Soliskin Vitality activated across her rotation, making her one of the most premium units in the game. However, her ceiling is much higher than other characters due to how her damage bonuses from ER interact with echo substat rolls, making her an ideal option for those looking to min-max their roster. When it comes to building Sigrika, starting off with her skill priority, you want to max out her Forte Circuit and Liberation first, as they're her biggest contributors to damage, and then her basic attack, and then her resonance skill. You can opt to leave her intro skill at a lower level to save on weekly boss mats. Moving on to her weapons, Sigrika performs decently with the existing cast of gauntlets. Here's what the calculations are looking like, credits to Pridewin. Let's start off with her signature, Soulsworn Ciphers. This weapon has a standard base attack, crit damage, a 12% attack buff, and 32% echo skill damage amplification whenever an intro or echo skill is used, while also ignoring 10% defense when dealing echo skill damage. This weapon is tailor-made for Sigrika as she has permanent outtime on its effects, and it also provides the very rare stat of damage amplification, which can usually only be found in character kits. The second best option is Blazing Justice, Zani's signature, which has nearly identical stats, but a weapon effect that she can't use besides its 8% defense ignore, but that alone is enough to make it the second best in slot. The third best option, thankfully, is completely free to play, which is Pulsation Bracers, the new standard 5-star. This weapon instead grants a crit rate buff instead of crit damage, and a small basic attack damage buff if the enemy is affected by Toon Strain, but this effect will typically not be active in Sigrika's teams, making it primarily a stat stick. However, it's a good one. There aren't really any other reasons to consider any other weapon options, as Pulsation Bracer can be selected on the weapon banner, making it very easy to pull for any player, so save yourself the headache and go for this if you're not going to be pulling Sigrika's weapon. Now let's talk about Sigrika's echoes. Sound of True Name is her best in slot, providing a massive 20% crit rate boost to echo skill damage while also granting 25% arrow damage. If you're truly desperate, you can run Sierra Gale, but it isn't recommended at all. For her echo main stats, you'll have 2 options depending on your willingness to invest. At low investment, run a crit 4 cost, 1 ER 3 cost, an attack 3 cost, and 2 attack 1 costs. For substats, you'll prioritize ER up to 150%, crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage rolls, and then basic attack damage rolls. No other damage rolls in her kit functionally do anything. At high investment, you'll want a crit 4 cost, 2 attack 3 costs, and 2 attack 1 costs, and focus on getting 50% ER from your substats. This is very hard, but the potential rewards are absolutely insane if you can hit ER, crit rate, and crit damage on every piece. The last area of investment when it comes to Sigrika involves your wallet or a lot of saved astrite, her sequence nodes. Here's what the damage increases are looking like, credits to Pridewin. Her first node grants a 70% multiplier increase to her Decipher enhanced attacks, and also grants her interruption resistance when using any of them. She also generates 1 additional stack of encapsulated when using her outro skill. Her second node increases the damage multiplier of her Forte enhanced resonance skill by 120%, and also causes her to gain Divergent when out of combat for over 4 seconds. Her fourth node causes her innate gift buff to stack up to 4 times and does not remove the buff when Sigrika uses her enhanced resonance skill, and the buff only expires when she's out of combat for over 30 seconds. The fourth node simply causes her entire team to gain 20% attack for 20 seconds when an echo skill is used, while her fifth increases the damage multiplier of her Liberation by 30%. And her sixth node, the big one, causes enemies to take 30% more damage from Sigrika and also grants additional effects to innate gift. Each stack now grants her enhanced heavy attacks 15% damage amplification, and they'll ignore 7.5% of her target's defense. Now that we've covered Sigrika's build, let's get into some of her teams and optimal rotations. Given her focus on on echo skills cast by her teammates, she'll pair best with teams centered around Qiuyuan while also having some teams without him featuring Ciaccona. Unfortunately, she has no real free-to-play options, so they won't be covered here. Our first team features Shorekeeper as the support, Qiuyuan as the sub DPS, and Sigrika as the main DPS. You'll start off on Shorekeeper using a blend of basic attacks, resonant skills, and heavy attacks to generate her concerto before casting her liberation and echo skill to top it all off. Then you'll intro skill onto Qiuyuan, use his echo skill, and then his liberation, and then perform 2 basic attacks to generate his full forte, and then heavy attack 3 times to perform his Thus Spoke the Blade combo, and then use a heavy attack before intro skilling to Sigrika. You'll then echo skill to cap out Solaskin Vitality and Blessing of the Runes, basic attack until Decipher, and then perform her enhanced basic before using her enhanced runic chain. You'll then liberation and perform another basic attack chain for Decipher, then another enhanced basic, and then her enhanced heavy attack with a runic Solaskin before using her forte enhanced resonant skill to end the rotation and intro back onto Shorekeeper. If you're looking for more details on Shorekeeper's rotation here, check out my advanced guide linked below. One variation of this lineup, in case your Shorekeeper is occupied, is to instead slot in Arrow Rover with their R5 weapon in her place. The only difference here will be that with Arrow Rover, you'll perform 2 basic attacks, skill, air attack twice, plunge, basic attack, skill again, 2 more air attacks, plunge, basic, then liberation, echo skill, and then enhanced resonance skill before introing onto Qiuyuan and performing the same rotations listed above. Arrow Rover will want to be equipped with Rejuvenating Glow in this lineup with the Fallacy of No Return. This team provides more damage amp, but lacks Shorekeeper's insane buffs to critical rate and damage, but can serve as a budget option that's completely free. Another variation involves slotting in Iuno in the support role. You'll start off by using Iuno's skill, echo skill, and then her enhanced skill, and then cast her resonance liberation. You'll then jump to enter Moonbow form and then fire off 3 shots, and then enhance resonance skill twice to top off her concerto, and then heavy attack to create her healing field, then intro skill onto Qiuyuan with the same rotations listed earlier. Iuno in this lineup provides far more personal damage compared to Rover or Shorekeeper while also providing a massive heavy attack amp to Qiuyuan. However, Sigrika gains the least number of buffs in this lineup, but her buffs to arrow damage from Blessing of the Runes benefits Iuno in return. The last lineup featured will focus on players who don't have Qiuyuan, focusing on Shorekeeper, Ciaccona, and Sigrika. You'll open up identically on Shorekeeper before introing in onto Ciaccona, who will finish her basic attack chain for her second forte stack, and then you'll jump attack and then cancel its animation when she hits the ground with her skill, enhanced heavy attack, echo skill, and then use her liberation. Then you'll intro skill onto Sigrika and perform the same rotations listed earlier. This team feels a bit lacking compared to other lineups, primarily due to the fact that you have almost no buffs from Solaskin Vitality or Blessing of the Runes, but it's playable, I guess. Sigrika can also run sustainless compositions with Ciaccona, Qiuyuan, and herself to reach insane damage numbers and clear times, but it's not recommended for the average player since, well, you won't have any healing. However, Sigrika's stagnation on her outro skill can make up for the lack of healing if you're willing to practice. Frolova can also be considered as well alongside Qiuyuan and Sigrika if you're willing to go sustainless, but this will be a comp covered in other videos due to its natural risk. Sigrika is also a character who has pretty much no quick stopping ability at all, with nearly all of her buffs dropping once she swapped off field, so don't bother. At the end of the day, Sigrika is an incredibly powerful main DPS that offers a completely new damage type to the arrow attribute that comes with one of the highest damage ceilings in the game, as long as you're, well, willing to expend the tuners and tubes to build her. However, she's also one of the most restrictive characters in the game ever released that functionally requires Qiuyuan on her team to access most of the buffs in her kit. It's safe to say that she doesn't change very much at all when it comes to the meta in Wuthering Waves and is likely one of the most skippable units ever released. However, she offers some of the most satisfying gameplay and fantastical nukes on the roster and is a breath of fresh air visually that might have some of you willing to spend your pulls, even if we all know who's coming up on the anniversary. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.